Welcome to another episode of the Less is More Sports podcast. I hope you've been following the previous 4 episodes that are posted on both SoundCloud and on Zoom. We're coming at you again today from another Zoom episode to where you can hear where you've heard the voices before, but now you get to see the faces. So I don't know if this is fortunate or unfortunate, but Spencer was not able to join us today. So instead, we have Maury as his replacement today. So Maury, what's up?
Via
How you doing?
via satellite from Florida.
Oh yeah, that's how you know it's special right now. Of course, he's throwing the L's up. You know, I got to respond, so you already know. But no, we got a lot of great topics to talk about today. That has me almost excited as a Jim Harbaugh recruit. Has me wanting to do cartwheels. So, but no, we're coming at you today with our Power 5 conference previews, and I gotta beg the question. Being that we are a recruiting podcast first, does the transfer of JT Daniels affect any of these power rankings that we're having?
As far as SEC wise goes, because obviously he transferred to Georgia. If anybody doesn't know, as far as SEC wise goes, it does not change anything for me. Pac-12 wise, because he's transferring from USC, it does not change anything for me because we all knew Slovis was going to start from the get-go anyway.
Slovis is the guy in Southern California and for starting for the University of Spoiled Children. But anyways, neither here nor there. But today, and being that we also are recruiting news, that we also probably expect to do a college basketball preview in the near future. And so we'll probably talk more in depth about Mac McClung transferring to Texas Tech in the near future. But
then what for anybody that didn't see it today, just a tiny little bit of college basketball. Anybody knows Florida guard Andrew Nembhard took his name out of the NBA draft today and put himself in the transfer portal. He is now the top guy in the transfer portal for anybody that needs a guard.
Well, Nembhard is a former Montverde player, and I watched him being a Duke fan when I was trying to watch a lot of R.J. Barrett's games. And, Nembhard's a real heady point guard, makes smart plays, good passer. So, I think anybody that lands Nembhard's going to get a very good guard. So, but anyways, no, we're going to start today with the ACC in college football. So I won't spend a whole lot of time because you already know what angle I'm coming at. I'm coming exactly saying that Clemson is the team to beat in the ACC. My child is going to
let's be honest here. Like, Maury, I'm sorry. I know Louisville fan, a lot of Louisville fans are going to listen to this podcast, but it's not a secret. It's not really a option that the ACC runs through Clemson.
Yeah, and it sucks that we're in the same division, so we don't have a chance to meet them in the title for round 2 or anything. It's either
since we're on this college football preview, can we talk about how each conference needs a division realignment? Look at every single conference. Every single conference, their best teams in their conference play in the same division.
Right.
Look at the SEC. You've got Texas A&M, Alabama, LSU, all in the same conference. And, yeah, you've got Georgia and Florida in the same conference. But we all know every year Auburn ends up being better than Georgia or something, or LSU ends up being better than Georgia. I'm sure everybody last year would have killed to see an Alabama-LSU Part 2 in the SEC title game instead of getting to watch Georgia and LSU.
But the thing is, if we have to do a conference realignment in divisions, we're going to have to be doing it every so often too because – eventually as we progress, teams are going to adapt to that and certain teams are going to get better than others. So say if we align it to where the two best teams in, this decade are on opposite ends of the conference, the next decade we could be right back in the situation we're talking about right now. So, it's not really a win. There's not really a perfect way to do it.
Yes and no. Yes and no, because yes, you're going to have your team. So, let's take the ACC, for instance. North Carolina's on a little bit of an uprise with Mac Brown and the recruiting. Tiny bit. We'll see if it actually stays consistent. Okay, you have North Carolina. But we're talking about every conference has that traditional school where we know every year those 1 or 2 schools, every single year. They may have a couple down years. We all know they're going to be there, though. We all know in the SEC, we're always going to have Alabama and LSU. We know in the Pac-12, for the most part, we're always going to have Oregon, and hopefully now for the near future, we'll have USC again. The Big 12, you're going to have Oklahoma and Texas, which they don't have division division, so it's not that big of a deal. The Big Ten, you're gonna have Ohio State, you're gonna have your Michigan State, you're gonna have Penn State, you're gonna have Wisconsin. Like, look at the Big Ten, for instance. The best teams in the Big Ten, anybody, and you can argue if you want, are Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, Michigan State, and Wisconsin. Minnesota had one good year. I'm not going to put them in that top every year in the Big Ten. Out of those 5 teams in the Big Ten, 4 of them play in the same division. Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State all play in the same division. So every year we pretty much already know it's going to be one of those 4 teams in that division versus Wisconsin because they're going to run through their division. And I would just like to see, instead of there's 5 of them. Yeah, obviously one's going to have 3, the other's going to have 2. But we at least split it up. For TV ratings wise, who in college football wouldn't want to possibly see Ohio State, Michigan in a Big Ten championship game?
I mean, here's another idea, though, but it's going to be a lot harder given that there's only 12 games in the regular season. And that's get rid of the divisions and have the 2 top teams in the conference play in the conference title every year.
It works for the Big 12 so far, so I wouldn't see why not.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the only issue is that there's not always going to be enough games during the regular season for every team to play. So there's always going to be that skepticism that, well, so-and-so didn't play, so-and-so, all that talk. But yeah, I would be more in favor of how the Big 12 does it, and that's get rid of divisions and just have the 2 best teams in the conference duke it out in the conference tournament the conference championship at the end of the year. So that's what I would rather see, because I feel like that's the best way you're going to get the 2 best teams coming out of the conference. So we see it, and like you said, yes, in recent years it is Texas and Oklahoma, but if we do I still think we're going to have.
Last year we got Baylor.
Last year we had Baylor. I'm just saying it from a consistent standpoint. Yeah, though. From a consistent standpoint, this decade is Texas and Oklahoma, but that's just for conversational purposes. The point being is that I feel like if we realign the conferences to make it to where we're going to get the 2 best teams in the 2 best teams in the conference meeting in the conference championship every year, we're going to have to be realigning every so often. So I feel like to get rid of divisions, it would be the best case scenario. But that's just me.
I think it's going to cause a lot of tiebreaker issues, though. Like, I like the divisions. They just – you can't determine how powerful a team is going to be, though. When you
really can't. You're right there. You never know until the games are played. So
I get why the divisions are there, but I prefer divisions over how the Big 12 does it because, for example, Louisville doesn't play Duke every year. So say Louisville goes 12-0, and then Duke goes 12-0, and then Clemson goes 12-0.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. If Duke ever goes 12-0 in football, I will shit my pants in excitement, all right?
That's why
if Louisville ever goes 12-0 in football, I would shit my pants.
Well,
I was trying to be positive, Klucas, but okay, let's go there. All right, fair enough. But no, let's get back to the ACC. I think it's an obvious one. Clemson's going to come out of the division. I don't see them. I'm looking at their schedule. They don't look like they're going to lose an entire game. If they do, it's going to be a national travesty. I still think Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback in the ACC. Sam Howell is kind of from North Carolina, is kind of trying to clip his heels, but to me, it's not really close. Not to mention they still have ETN, Justin Ross, 3 or 4 of those linemen back, and even though they lose guys on the defensive end like Isaiah Simmons or Kayvon Wallace, I don't even care about A.J. Terrell, to be honest, or Tanner Muse. That's another big loss. They got the number 1 class in ACC recruiting-wise coming in, number 3 nationally. They have the number 1 overall player in the class of 2020, Brian Brzee, coming in, who is just a monster on the defensive line. I think this, kind of like I said in the previous podcast, Lucas, I think this team is going to be the more traditional Brent Venables style defense as far as running a 4-3 rather than a 3-4, where they pack the front line and stack the box more and kind of play off that line and get a lot of pressure in the backfield. So I think this Clemson team, I think they come out of the ACC. I think they'll probably be the number 1 team in the country for most of the year. I think it's going to be, not to skip, to other conferences, but I think it's going to be between Clemson and Ohio State as far as who's the best team in the country every year. So each week. So kind of like a USC versus Texas back in 2005. That's how I think Ohio State and Clemson are going to be this year. So, Mari, you look like you got something to say.
So are you USC and Texas? So are we calling Trevor Lawrence, Matt Leinart, and Justin Fields, Vince Young?
I don't know about all that because I think because Trevor is a lot more pro ready than Matt Ryan was, and I think
Yeah, and
Justin's a
Justin
lot.
Fields
And to
is
be
Justin
fair,
Fields a lot
Justin is
more
a lot.
pro ready than Vince Young.
Yes, and I will also add though too. I think Justin Fields is a lot more driven than Vince Young was. Vince Young came out his rookie year, had a lot of success, and he even openly admits he didn't keep preparing the way he should. So that's why he didn't. His NFL career didn't last as long as some maybe thought it should. But I still want to hear what Maury says because he looked like he had something to say right now.
I really disagree with I don't think Clemson will be they're going to be the best team, but I don't think they'll be number one, kind of because of last year, how they blew out every single team, but they were kind of hovering that number 3, number 4, number 2 spot the entire year. So I think you'll see them at number one at one point, but not for
They're gonna be the problem is they're gonna be number one to start the year.
Yeah.
And when you start the year number one and you win, it's easier to say if they're number 3 in the country starting out and they win, it's easier to go, okay, well, if they go to number one, do they deserve to go to number one, whatever. But if you start the year number one, and unless you have like a really like you struggled in a game against like let's just say they struggle against like a Duke or somebody like that, and they struggle to win at home, then they could get knocked off that number one spot if other teams are dominating and have are undefeated at the time as well. But when you're number one to start the year and you continue to win, it's very hard to knock you off that pedestal.
But this goes back to what I said. I don't know if you guys remember. I made like a shit big deal about the NCAA moving Clemson for number one. I think they put Alabama over Clemson, and I thought it was unfair because Clemson was winning, and I think the narrative was because they struggled against North Carolina, that's why they got pushed back, and I think they moved Alabama up. And all it did was make me kind of hate Alabama and Ohio State more because they were putting these teams in front of Clemson. That I felt like Clemson was number one. Obviously, I was wrong in the national championship game, but I just don't believe in making a team not number one because they struggle to win. I just don't believe in it. I feel like once you're number one, you're solid number one. If anybody behind you has a problem with that, if anybody behind them has a problem with that, then you meet them in the college playoff and you prove them wrong, like LSU did. That was my stance on the number one ranking.
All right, so you want to keep on going on Clemson or anything about what you got about Clemson?
I mean, what else is really – I don't think there's anything else to be said. I think if we're going to talk about the ACC, we're going to be talking about the best of the rest. So, which, I mean, you got teams like Miami who could be making a jump. You got teams like North Carolina. I really don't want to hype Mari up, but Louisville could make a big improvement this year. I mean,
so as far as Clemson goes, I think because I went in a little bit more in depth with my my research here. So for those of you that don't know, last year obviously Clemson went 14-1, losing. Their only loss was in the national title game to LSU. Last year, on average per game, they averaged 529 yards per game. They only allowed 289 yards per game. They scored at about 44 points per game and only gave up about 14 points per game. That offensive total was good for 4th in the country. Defense was good for 3rd in the country. And we talk about returns. Obviously, they bring back Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, it's the biggest one of them all. They also return Travis Etienne, Justin Ross, and the biggest name I think on the defense, what's going to like really drive their defense is Xavier Thomas. Obviously, you have the recruiting class, but Xavier Thomas is the leader of that defense now, and so Xavier Thomas on the defensive side is to me, can make the hugest impact this year. And then also Amari Rodgers on the receiving core as well is also a huge return for them coming into this year. Obviously, they lost T. Higgins. Last year, not a big fan of T. Higgins, but it is a loss nonetheless. Tanner Muse and Isaiah Simmons were 2 huge losses for them on the defensive side. And then A.J. Terrell, regardless of your opinion on him, is still a loss as your number 1 corner. Personally, like I said, I have them going undefeated as well, finishing the year number 1. They'll be right there at the college football playoff, right there in the ACC title game, and we'll get later into who I think is going to be in that ACC title game versus them.
All right. Say, Maury, you got anything to add?
I agree with everything he said. It's just I don't have no complaints. I really don't. I feel like if Clemson loses one game this year, like you said, it'd be a travesty if it does. That they'll probably still make the playoff. But I was really, don't get me wrong, I really dislike Florida State for a number of reasons. But I read an article that said these guys are bringing back half their starters and a great recruiting class to come in. You know, they're bringing in the guys they recruited, and they're bringing in guys that Louisville recruited. And I think they'll be right there behind Clemson, but it'll be hard to, like you said.
So let's talk about Florida State then. So Florida State, okay, first-year head coach, brand new head coach. It's going to be very hard for a first-year head coach to try to knock off an undefeated and a very good Clemson team, more than likely at the time. So let's dive into Florida State then with my numbers that I've got while we're on them. Last year, Florida State went 6-7. Not your typical state here. They averaged about 408 yards per game. You know, if this football wasn't so offensively driven now, that would probably be a great year. But being offensively driven, it's not that great of a year, especially when your defense gave up 424 yards per game. They were 73rd in the country in scoring, 67th in the country in defense in terms of points allowed. You don't want to be in the bottom half of those two categories. Biggest loss, obviously, Cam Akers. Huge loss at the running back position. The problem is not only with the first-year coach is it going to be very hard to knock them off. Quarterback play is huge nowadays. We all know quarterback is the most valuable position on the football field. James Blackman is right now projected to be their starting quarterback. Didn't really have the greatest of seasons last year. It's kind of an average quarterback to me now, unless he comes out and has a breakout year, then that's a different story. But, you know, we all know one of the reasons why Maury hates him is because they have two former Louisville guys backing up James Blackman and Jordan Travis and Chuba Purdy. So whether Blackman plays the whole year or not, or whether it ends up being Travis or Purdy at some point, Florida State's in the right direction, I think, now, but I don't know if they're ready to take that step to with the Clemson yet. My record-wise, I have them projected. I do have them going 8-4. Like I said, they're going to go in the right direction, but I still think they're a year away from being a year away.
I want to add one thing too, though. One of the constant problems with Florida State getting production out of their quarterback, it's not that their quarterbacks aren't talented. A lot of times it's the offensive line. It's a lot of times they can't, they don't have any time to throw the ball. I'm looking at their projected starting lineup for 2020, and they have 3 freshmen on the offensive line. And that doesn't really seem like a recipe of success to really compete with Clemson, especially a team that's going to be able to stack the box that well.
Yeah.
Hello? Did I lose you all?
Average quarterback, first year head coach, and 3 freshman offensive linemen. Yeah, it's not looking good as far as going to compete with the Clemson, but like I said, you're in the right direction now. You've got some traction going. Now you just need to use this year to get that traction so you can move on to the next year or two.
That's what the ACC is. Like, at this point, everybody's just trying to compete with Clemson. Like, nobody's I agree. Like, I probably never admit this, like, in class or anything, but that's really what it is. It's like the whole ACC is trying to compete with Clemson. Like, you look at your schedule, you don't look at, as a Louisville fan, you don't look at, when do we play Kentucky? When do we play Murray State or Virginia Tech? We go, when do we play Clemson? And I think
Well,
that's the same.
okay. Well, let me stop you right there. If you're ever looking at and saying, when do we play Murray State? Your football team might have a little bit more problems than you
I'm
think.
looking at an example. I just saw Murray State on our so I was just like, okay, dub.
You're all about those automatic dubs, aren't you?
I was about to oof.
All right, so let's move on. Let's move on to Louisville then. Let's do Louisville football going.
I'll go over from here.
I'll let you start off since you're the Louisville
Yeah.
fan.
We actually have a Louisville fan on the podcast for the first time since episode 1. I'm actually kind of excited about this.
I'll let you get this out so I can maybe, depending on what you say, put you right back down.
Shit on my dreams as he always does.
Me?
No,
I would never.
No.
Les is listening. Les is 10 times worse than Klucas.
I'm worse than Klucas?
Oh yes. Here's the thing.
That's a win.
I can tune out Klucas. I cannot. It's like Les can say one thing, it'll be on my mind all day. I'll be in class.
I'm quite honored, actually. I can't even lie. This makes me feel good.
I'm gonna step my game up.
A lot of people are hyped about Mikhail, Tutu, and our running backs we have back. Personally, I'm worried about Rajay Burns coming back. Originally, I thought, I don't know why I thought this, that he was going to the draft. I thank God he didn't. But I'm more excited about our offense coming back. And don't get me wrong, Javian Hawkins said at the end of the Music City Bowl, which I think messed our head up, is he doesn't losing no more than 2 games. When he said it as a fan, I got hyped. I was like, oh yeah, we got everybody's confidence is up. And then I look at our schedule and I'm like, ugh. We play Clemson. Believe it or not, I'm probably gonna get like roasted for saying this, but I don't believe we can compete with Kentucky this year just because I've looked at their recruiting class compared to ours, and we didn't do much recruiting. And I get why, because we don't really need those. The holes we need filled are kind of filled, but I believe in recruiting like no matter what. The way the Bamas and the Clemsons and the Buckeyes do, I believe in that type of recruiting.
Okay, well, if you're expecting Louisville to recruit like Bama and Clemson, you're setting the bar a little high, bud.
I'm just so glad. I'm just so glad that this is going to be recorded and on video for me to use the rest of the year. So when Murray tries to tell me later in the year, I never said Louisville couldn't beat Kentucky, I can pull the video right back up.
Right. It's on the internet now, Mari. It's here forever, so you cannot backtrack.
But listen, I see us. I don't know what you guys how was going, but because we're Louisville, I think we're gonna drop at least 3 to 4 games. If we lose more than 5, I had something dramatic to me has to happen. A lot of people have Mikhail going. Don't get me wrong, I've said it before. They're like, oh, he's a Heisman dark horse. And I'm like, I want to say that, I really do. But he has this thing where he literally does a Kobe fadeaway when he throws the ball. And I can't stand when he does it. I get Seth Dawkins was 6'5", and you want to lob it to him, but that's not how we should run our offense at all. I can't stand it. But for me, I think we're not losing no more than 3 to 4 games this year. I just don't see it.
See, that's the thing, though. I'm looking at the schedule. I mean, you're starting off the season against NC State. I mean, NC State's no powerhouse, but they're not a cakewalk either. Then you go to then it's against Clemson. Then you got later in the season you got Notre Dame, you got Kentucky. I mean, I'm looking at potentially 4 losses right there.
Here's the thing. This is like my I forgot the word for it. This is my like hook I'm throwing in the water right now. I repeat, you can quote me on this. I do not see us losing to Notre Dame this year. Last year, in my opinion, we should not have lost to Notre Dame last year. But our so-called 5-star quarterback decided to fumble the ball 3 times in the first half. And I think that's how we lost. It's because we kept giving them the ball. I don't see us losing to Notre Dame. Florida State's coming to Louisville. I know I just praised Florida State. I really feel like, no, not this year. We should have beaten them last year and the year before. This year, there's just no way. I just don't see it. We're returning almost all of our offensive weapons, plus Rajay Burns is headline on our defense. We have a great offensive line. I just don't see it. If I'm not seeing something you guys are seeing, then please let me know. I'm not saying we're dominate
Lucas,
the AC, but
I got a question.
Okay, I'm listening.
Is Ian Book still the quarterback at Notre Dame?
Yes, he is.
Is Brian Kelly still the coach at Notre Dame?
Yes, he is.
You're losing to Notre Dame, Maury.
that's fine. That you guys can have that opinion. That's
So
my opinion is they are not beating us this year. I know we go to Notre Dame, but no, veto.
Oh yeah, that's the thing, and it's at Notre Dame. Yeah.
okay, but let's backtrack. Being at Notre Dame may not mean as much if there's no fans.
There will be fans. I'm confident in it. I think there's going to be
I'm
fans.
praying to God that there will be, but I'm just saying going 2 places right now as it stands, if there's no fans, it doesn't really mean a whole lot.
Yeah, it would mean more if there are fans, obviously, but still, there's something to be said for playing for your home field. So I mean, there's always that little bit of an advantage, but
Yeah,
obviously, it's magnitude greater when there are fans, but you know.
But here's the thing. In our schedule, I'm looking at it now. Don't get me wrong. Murray State and WKU are not credible wins at all. But in a 4-week span, we do play pretty shitty teams. And I believe those 5 weeks that we have where we're, destroying these teams, let's see, we got Florida State coming over. Like I said, they're not beating us. I just don't see no more than 3 losses. If we lose more than 3, then we failed this season.
I'm just trying to see where on this schedule, outside of the first half after Clemson, where do you see 3 shitty teams you're playing?
Shitty's a terrible word, but we shouldn't lose. But I'm saying
How about the 3 games right after actually the 4 games right after Clemson?
Yeah, we got Murray State, WKU, Syracuse.
Okay, well, let me just bring you back down to earth for a second. Syracuse is not a shitty by any good team.
It was a terrible turn.
No, but here's the thing. Like, I get where you're coming from. You're thinking of them as like almost bottom feeders of the ACC. Syracuse is a very good football team. And you know what? I'll get into Syracuse when we get to Syracuse. So unless you have something to talk about, we'll go ahead and go in. Unless you've got something.
Please go ahead.
Well, since Maury wants to talk about U of L, I'm going to talk about Duke. And you know what? The big story from our offseason is the fact that we landed my child's backup, Chase Bryce, as our quarterback. And no offense, Maury, but I like Chase Bryce a lot more than any quarterback on U of L's roster. You know what? I do. I do.
I hope this is less talking, not biased less talking.
Okay, let's.
This is me talking.
Let's for a second. We'll get to Duke when we get to Duke. If you don't have anything to add on about U of L, I'd like to go in on U of L.
Please go ahead. Please
okay, you want to go in on U of L? That's fine. Let me get some. You just keep talking. I'm gonna get some water.
All right, so U of L last year, offensively, and I was just talking to my buddy earlier about this. Offensively, I have no concerns about U of L. Maybe at the offense line because you lost McKay. That's a huge
6'8".
So maybe a little worried at the offensive line position. Outside of that, I'm not worried about anything. I actually like Mikhail Cunningham. I like Javion Hawkins. My biggest concern for Louisville, make them a 7 to 8 win team versus a 4 to 5 win team is going to. If their defense can't play up to par, then they're going to struggle because while the ACC is not great all around as a conference. They do have some teams that can play offense. So I don't know if you necessarily want to get into shootouts with a lot of these teams, especially if you're on the road or anything. So Louisville last year gave up 440 yards per game.
That is just terrible.
And it allowed teams to score 33 points per game, which was good for 109th in the country out of 120 FBS teams. Also, may I just, throw in the UK U of L in there. Should I also add that you let Kentucky run the same play from the start of the second quarter on to the fourth quarter, every single play? I don't know how you let one team run one play and not stop it.
Is not. I don't know what happened after.
They had 4 passing yards, Mari.
Correction, we did not have 4 passing yards. I don't know where you got that stat from. We didn't. Oh, Kentucky had 4 passing yards.
Yeah.
See, this whole time I thought you guys were saying Louisville had 4 passing yards.
500 yards rushing.
Yeah, we're just not a good. When we play teams like I really compared to Georgia Tech, really teams like Georgia Tech, and I knew I didn't say nothing. I think I tried to talk shit to you before the game to hype myself up, but I knew Kentucky's game plan was just run the ball, just run it. And
the sad part is I think everyone knew that game plan except U of L apparently.
Yeah, everybody in the country knew it was coming once they saw Lynn Bowden was going in at quarterback.
I wish I was on the sideline to just scream out like, yo, it's not that hard to tackle him. It's really not that hard. It's not rocket science. They ran – when you guys ran one possession, the first possession –
Klucas has that look. I know what he's about to say. Klucas has that look. I know what he's about to say.
It's not even the fact of it's hard to tackle him. It's the fact of how do you not stack the box? Literally, I'm watching that UK U of L game, and they ran the same play over and over. And what do I see your defense doing? They're still dropping back into zone like we're just going to throw the football. We've thrown the football 2 times the whole game.
No,
you
Klucas
kept dropping back into zone. Why would you not stack the box? Why would you – if you know they're going to run it, and you know Lynn Bowden can't throw for more than 5 yards, blitz. Blitz the whole game.
Hey, Klucas, correct me if I'm wrong, because I was drinking a little bit during this game, but wasn't I on Snapchat literally like just playing the game and my drunk ass was like, I wonder what play Kentucky's gonna run next. I bet it's a quarterback draw.
I had two screens going because obviously the UK U of L game was playing at the same time as the Ohio State Michigan game, so I was watching both games at the same time. And, it was a beautiful thing to watch where I get to watch on one TV Justin Fields throw a touchdown against Michigan and then turn and look at the other screen and watch Lynn Bowden run for 70 yards for a touchdown. But the same play, the same freaking play.
It's not just that that we
ran, different run plays.
They got mollywopped on the same play.
It's not like we ran different run plays. We threw quarterback draws, halfback draws, counter plays, stretch plays. No, we ran the same read option play with maybe just a different running back every now and then, and you just let it happen. So let's get into Louisville's schedule. So you start off against NC State. I give you the W on that one. It's not an easy win, but I give you the W on that. At Clemson, that's a loss. That's a loss if I've ever seen one. You're right. Murray State, WKU, easy wins. Should be easy wins for Louisville. Syracuse will be a tough game, but I do have them beating Syracuse. I have them beating Boston College. Boston College won't be that good. That Florida State game I have as a loss. So that is loss number 2 I have for you. The Virginia Tech game I have as a win. Virginia game I have as a win. The Wake Forest game I have as a win. And then I have you losing your last 2 games of the year at Notre Dame and then against Kentucky. I have Louisville sitting at 8-4. But like I said, if your defense doesn't even play up to par, that Syracuse game, that Virginia Tech game, and that Virginia game could very easily turn into losses, which would turn you around to 5-7.
You said
I'd even throw in the NC State game because NC State is one of those teams. They're not a powerhouse, but they're a constant nail. They're
I
kind
watched.
of a thorn in. They're kind of a thorn in your side, like every year. I mean,
I watched the NC State and Louisville game last year, and if I can find his name real quick in my notes, here it is. Devin Leary, the quarterback. He was a freshman last year. I watched the Louisville NC State game last year, the game where the punter threw a touchdown. It was the most accurate pass I've seen from a punter since Pat McAfee. But Devin Leary, he as a freshman, he played really well and impressed me. Not impressed me as like an NFL level quarterback or anything. Don't get me wrong there, but he impressed me in terms of okay, he's like he could be a Ryan Fit like how Ryan Finley was at NC State, where he's good enough to he could maybe win you a couple extra games a year. So yeah, if that defense doesn't play up to par, that NC State game could even be a loss, which would put you at 4-8. That's what I'm saying. Your defense is going to make the difference of whether you go 8-4 or 4-8.
Yeah, and I do give you credit because you were the only person that texted me in the middle of the Wake Forest game. Remember that game was a shootout. It shouldn't have been, but it was. And you texted me and you said, because I was hyped that we won, and you texted me. You said, if every game is like that for the rest of the year, Louisville is not making a bowl game. And I remember thinking to myself, we can handle a shootout. Like, what is he talking about? And like, I can't remember who we played next. I want to say it was maybe I'd have been Florida State, where we took the lead, and then, like you said, it turned into a shootout, and we lost. And then I said to myself, it's a bad look, but I was like, man, Klucas is right. We cannot go and have a shootout every game. That's why I'm hoping Rajay can lead these guys into like battle, because if we face a team like Kentucky who's running the ball every play, then yeah, we're
unless you're a Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, that type of defender, one person is not going to make the difference on our defense.
He just leads them, like just lead them in the direction, because I haven't been hyped for our defense since Lorenzo Malden and Pryor and them were all there. So
all right. Well, let's go ahead and talk about your Dukies and Chase Bryce.
Well, I just more or less wanted to stir up some shit with Mari because we know he was going to jump in about U of L. But
yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. Okay, Chase Bryce, I like him as a talent, but if I'm picky, if you told me tomorrow, okay, I'm taking over as the head coach at Wake Forest, you can have your choice between Chase Bryce or Mikhail Cunningham as your starting quarterback. I'm going to pick Mikhail Cunningham.
Well, that's your opinion. You also really – Mikhail Cunningham being a runner and being the type of quarterback that you like, that's also – don't act like that doesn't play a role in that as well either.
It plays a little bit into it, but, I like Mikhail – I don't want to say I completely like him over Chase as a thrower, but I think they're almost just about the same as a thrower. Mikhail's a very underrated thrower.
No. Chase Bryce was getting Brett Favre comparisons in high school. I don't know about all that. Obviously, he's not Brett Favre. Let's not jump the gun on that. But no, he was getting from several recruiting scouts were comparing his playing style and his arm to a Brett Favre-like talent. Plus, not the fact that he is being coached now by a quarterback guru and David Cutcliffe. So, I hopefully he puts it together this year. But no, this at the end of the day, this is Duke football we're talking about. We start the season off with a pretty easy schedule against the likes of Elon and Charlotte. So our toughest game in our first five games is Pittsburgh. I still think we can win that one. So I think Duke at the end of the day goes 6-6. They start off 4-0, and of course Duke fans probably get happy and all that BS. But then they start playing the real teams. They start playing the Notre Dame's. The NC State, UNC, Notre Dame. I see that as 3 straight losses. Georgia Tech, I see as a win. Virginia, I see as a loss. And then we end the season against Virginia Tech and Miami. I see both of those as losses. So at the end of the day, I think this Duke team goes 6-6, and they're on the outside looking in on a bowl game. But for a Duke fan, as a Duke fan, you kind of expect that every year. So the most hyped returners we have is our defensive ends. Chris Rumpf was a preseason All-American in the ACC this year. That's a lot to be excited about. And Victor Dumakije, very underrated pass rusher as well in the ACC. So, our 2 defensive ends give us a lot to talk about. I mean, or a lot to be excited about on the defensive side of the ball. Hopefully, Michael Carter Jr.'s health is a lot better off this year. I mean, we're interested to see what Josh Blackwell does at at the corner position. But no, and then like I said, at the end of the day, it's Duke football. You're looking at a 6-16. So
yeah, it must suck to be you, dude. You're a Duke fan, like it must suck.
you know what?
I would hate. Well,
I mean, he's got Chase Bryce to look at now, and he had Danny Dimes. So.
Oh yeah, Danny Dimes. Oh yeah, I saw Danny Dimes play in person. I was impressed. So, well, you did too, Klucas. You were apparently at that game before we started hanging out. So,
yeah. I've got about the same for Duke, about 5 or 6 wins in the ACC. Chase
and
Bryce.
not even talk about Deion Jackson. Deion Jackson is coming back. That was our strong.
Deion, you know what? It's funny that you say that. Deion Jackson's actually on my key returners list.
Really? Yeah.
He is. Deion Jackson's on my key returners list, along with Chris Rumpf. Chris Rumpf gets the most attention on the defensive line.
It's funny though that he gets the most attention. Yeah. He didn't even lead Duke in sacks and tackles for loss last year. That was Victor Dimakije, who's also coming back. So it's interesting.
It's almost like LSU's receivers. Like, yeah, Jamar Chase won the wide receiver of the year, but Justin Jefferson was really the highlight of the receiving corps. Like
from the numbers standpoint, yeah.
Yeah, me and you were bigger fans of Jamar Chase, but Justin Jefferson, like when you was getting all the highlights, for the most part. So but like I said, Duke, I've got around 5 or 6 wins. It's pretty much the norm for Duke football. So I really don't have much else for that.
I mean, that's pretty much all I got for the ACC, unless anybody's got anything else to add.
Well, for Spencer's sake, if he watches this, let's talk about Miami.
I'll do his little laugh and everything.
Let's talk about Miami. I actually do like Miami this year. Kind of like how we touched on last year when we did our fantasy football draft party. Miami always has a very good defense, but the problem is they can't do anything on offense, so the defense ends up getting tired, which is where they start, getting blown out. Defense can hold its own, but can the offense hold its own? And this year, the offense should be able to hold its own with De'Aaron King at quarterback. De'Aaron King was very good at Houston. Transferred to Miami, obviously. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the U is back, yada, 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 get the turnover chain out, But I actually do see Duke as a 10-2 football team in the ACC this year.
Hold on. You mean Miami?
Yeah.
Or Miami. Sorry, I don't know why I said Duke.
I was like, I would love for Duke to be 10-2 in the ACC, but I don't see it happening.
I have Miami at 10-2 in the ACC, but they're not my ACC pick to play Clemson in the ACC championship game. I think De'Aaron King will be able to change some things for that Miami offense with him.
Did we lose again? Can y'all hear me?
Hey, baby.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good now. I don't know. Sorry for everybody listening. There was a little bit of a technical difficulties, but before we cut out, one thing I wanted to add though is that you're big on De'Aaron King. I am too. Very good quarterback. But that hasn't necessarily been the problem with Miami the last couple of years. The last couple of years, the bigger issue is can they block for him? And they still have a very relatively young offensive line. I think they have 3 sophomores starting on the offensive line this year. They still have to get seasoned. So the key to Miami's offense is going to be how that offensive line protects for De'Aaron King. Are they going to be able to block for him enough that we get that 36 touchdown a year player that we saw in Houston a couple of seasons ago, or are we going to get a shell of what we think De'Aaron King could be? So that's my 2 cents on Miami.
transitioning from that, well, while we're on Miami is going to have the best pass rusher in football this year, in my opinion.
I could be that Duke fan. I could be that Duke fan and say no, Victor DiMcKeej or
Gregory.
No,
is it
Rousseau? Rousseau is how you pronounce his name. Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to be the best pass rusher in football. He's probably going to end up being a top 10 pick next year in the NFL draft.
Agree 100%.
So he'll be the catalyst. He'll probably be the catalyst for that defense. Like I said, I got Miami sitting at 10-2. But before we move on from the ACC, just quick rundown. I think Virginia is going to be a very solid football team at 8-4. They got the transfer in Keaton Thompson from Mississippi State, who'll just take in right over for Bryce Perkins. Very solid quarterback to replace. Virginia Tech, I have as an 8-4 team. They've returned Hendon Hooker at quarterback. I think he's good enough. But my ACC pick to play Clemson in the ACC title game, North Carolina.
No, I kind of figured that was coming. I mean, that would be a perfect.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just Mac Brown, because I always like Mac Brown at Texas. I don't know if it's just Mac Brown. I don't know if it's Sam Howell. I just like the swagger of North Carolina and how they're going right now.
Oh, no, they definitely have swagger. And I think from a story standpoint or like sports writers, that's the matchup that ACC writers want to see in the ACC championship game. You have the two best,
especially if Sam
arguably
Howell,
the two best coaches. I mean, it's a match made in heaven for sports writers. So I think that's
especially if Sam Howell's going to do all the talking and everything, leading up to the game. It makes the story a whole lot more better. And I actually really do like Sam Howell as far as the way now he doesn't carry himself off the field. He won't have all the off the field issues. Hopefully, as Sam Howell kind of reminds me, kind of carries that Baker Mayfield swagger. He kind of carries that same type of swagger that,
in a weird way, he kind of looks like him too.
Yeah, I know I'm good, personality, I know I'm that guy, maybe he can plant a flag in the middle of Clemson's field, but
see that happen.
I really like Sam Howell, and I really like what they've done in a very quick period of time at North Carolina. So they're my pick to play Clemson in the ACC title game. Obviously, I have Clemson still winning, but that's my pick for the ACC is North Carolina and Clemson.
Before we transition to the Big 12, I do want to give a shout out. One of very few shout outs you'll see me give the University of North Carolina. And I got to give Sam Howell his props, because if you break my child's true freshman touchdown pass record, you can play. I give you that. So shout out to Sam Howell. We'll wait till the season starts. But yeah, I kind of but I like that ACC matchup. But are we ready to move on to the Big 12? Hello?
Yeah.
I'll say you all cut out. But so I'm going to stir up some stuff right off the bat, and you're going to call me biased. I don't care. My other team, Texas.
Here we go. Texas is going to win the Big 12. Here it comes.
Not only that, they go 13-0.
No.
You can't
calling it right now.
You still got time to take it back.
God dang it!
I don't have time to take it back. I'm not taking it back.
I was ready to talk about Oklahoma right off the jump. I had Oklahoma pulled up right now. Now I got to switch this to Texas. Now you're gonna make me do this.
Yes, I am. I'll say I don't see the only game that worries me on the schedule.
13-0.
Yes, 13-0. The only game that worries me is that we have to travel to Baton Rouge to play LSU. That is the only game that worries me, and that's because it is in Baton Rouge. Other than that, no issue at all. And you all cut out. I don't know why. My signal's good. So.
Playing against Baylor just doesn't.
Wait, I have a question for you, Les. Before you begin.
Before we cut out, did y'all hear what I said? The only game that worries me is the game in Baton Rouge against LSU.
It's LSU, yes.
Only game that worries me.
Hold on, Mari, before you ask him that, because here's my question, because you said the only game that worries you is LSU. So playing against a Spencer Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, and a Tylan Wallace Oklahoma State team on the road doesn't worry you.
No. Oklahoma State is a lesser version of Oklahoma in the sense that they have a great offense, but they can't defend.
So when you say 13-0, Klucas the Big 12 title game.
Yes.
You plan on losing in the playoff?
I think Texas will get to the college football playoff, and they'll probably lose to somebody like that. But I don't see anyone. Do what now?
That you have them losing right off the bat or in the national championship.
No, I have them losing right off the bat. I think they're going to have to either play Clemson or Ohio State, just depending on their seeding. I don't think they're not at that level yet.
Right.
So no, I think they'll go undefeated throughout the regular season. Then college football playoff time, I think they'll lose. But
I'm gonna need some ibuprofen. I got a headache after that one. Oh
really?
My goodness. Here's
the thing, though, because if you watched Texas play last year, when they were healthy on both sides of the ball, they looked pretty good. This is a team that hung with LSU. This is a team that blew out Utah in the Alamo Bowl. A team that was ranked 11th in the country. They were depleted in the secondary last year. It's all going to be depending on the health because, Caden Stearns missed time. B.J. Foster missed time. Cook missed time. Our whole secondary. Brandon Jones missed time last year. Now, Brandon Jones is gone, but, we had DeMarion Overshown, too, to take his spot.
Losing Duvernay and Colin Johnson at the receivers doesn't worry you?
No. I like Duvernay and Colin Johnson. They're great receivers, but have you seen the receivers that they have been bringing in the last couple of years? Does Jake Smith ring a bell? Or I'm going to just pull up our depth chart real quick. Jake Smith, Brendan Eagles, Malcolm Epps, Marcus Washington, Avante Woodard. Those are some pretty good options as well. The thing is that the receivers they've been bringing in the last couple of years, obviously they're still young. Brennan Eagles could be a very similar style of receiver to Colin Johnson. He's got the size. He can route run. I think he's a better route runner than Colin Johnson. Now, he doesn't moss corners the way Colin Johnson did. Now I'll miss that. But another thing is, though, obviously we know Sam Ehlinger's back. That's going to be the key focal point on offense. Most of our offensive line is back. But the key to that offense is we're probably going to have the most complete backfield we've had in a while. Because you got to think, our backfield was depleted in a lot of ways last year to where the point that we had to have our freshman quarterback transition to running back. But he actually turned out to be pretty good. So now obviously this is all barring health. The key guys got to
everybody's season pretty much bars health.
Right. But I think if we're looking at a healthy Texas team, I'm looking at a team. This is a team that goes 13-0. I'm looking at this backfield: Keontae Ingram, Roshan Johnson, freshman running back Bijan Robinson coming in. That dude's a monster. So this is probably one of the most complete backfields we've had. You'd have to go back to when Jamal Charles and Selman Young were on the team to even compare to the level of completeness in our backfield. Because, in the Colt McCoy years, Chris Obanaya, okay, cool. Charlie Strong years, Deontay Foreman had the Doak Walker Award. Are you laughing at Strong or Foreman? Because if you're laughing at Foreman, I'm about to jump through that computer screen and punch you in the face.
No, he's laughing about Charlie Strong.
Charlie Strong, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Charlie Strong did not get a fair shot at Texas.
Charlie Strong was put in a very bad situation at Texas.
Yes, the boosters run that program. That is, anytime you have a college town like Austin with a very proud tradition of athletics, the boosters run that program. The boosters never wanted Charlie, and Charlie had to fight with them with every decision he made, and he was not in a good situation.
All right, so let me dive in on Texas.
Respectfully.
I don't care if it's respectful or not, because I can handle it.
I like Texas. I had Texas actually, beating Oklahoma in the regular season like they kind of usually do for the most part. I don't know what it is during the regular season to where Oklahoma just can't beat Texas.
Well, they did last year, but
So I've got them in the regular season going 11-1. I have their loss at Oklahoma State.
At Oklahoma State.
Yes.
See, I mean,
I think Oklahoma State is a dark horse for that Big 12.
Oh, they're very much dark horse for that Big 12, but they got to step it up on the
they
defense.
Can't make a stop. I get that, but the entire Big 12 can't play defense outside of Texas.
That's my point. That's why I have them going 13-0 because they're the only team in the conference that can play defense. But the
problem is, if you can't play defense, Oklahoma State probably outside of Oklahoma in terms of offensive weapons probably has the best offensive weapons in the Big 12.
And I'm not arguing.
So if you can't stop people, what do you have to do? You have to outscore them. And I don't think outside of Oklahoma, nobody in the Big 12 is going to outscore Oklahoma State.
But that's the thing. I think Texas can get the stops they need.
Yeah, I'm just now looking at you guys' schedule, and I can see why you said what you said. But
so here's where I'm getting at. No, I have you going 11-1. I have Oklahoma. We'll go ahead and throw this out there. I have Oklahoma going 11-1 because I have their only loss being to Texas. And in the rematch in the Big 12, as everybody will always tell you, just like how it usually goes, it's very hard to beat a team twice in the same season.
It still just to me comes down to defense. I mean, Alex Grinch made strides in his first season as the defensive coordinator at Oklahoma. They still got a ways to go before they're able to get a stop. And the way Sam is, the way Sam improves year in and year out as a passer, I think it'll be a different season for that Texas offense. I mean, we're looking at a guy that
Why you look up?
We're looking at a guy from year in and year out. He goes from 11 touchdowns his freshman year to 25 his sophomore year to 32 his junior year. I mean, and each year it goes from 57% to 64% to 65% completion percentage. So, I mean, this is a guy that is making strides. I mean, I've always compared Ehlinger from a playing style perspective, not as far as career accolades, but as far as strictly playing style. I've compared him a lot to Tim Tebow. But with the strides he made his junior year, with the strides I expect him to make his senior year, I think he's becoming a much better passer than Tebow was at the college level, which still that's not saying a lot. But like I said, obviously Sam's not going to have the career in college that Tebow had. Not very many people do. But, I mean, I think Texas's offense is very slept on in a lot of ways. And them having the defense to be able to back it up, this looks like a 13-0 team to me in the regular season.
Like I said, I've got Texas and Oklahoma both going 11-1. I think in that Big 12 championship game, you're going to have Lincoln Riley, you're going to have Tom Herman, and I think at the end of the day, I give the better in a championship level game. I give the better edge to the better quarterback and the better head coach. And
are you ready to say Spencer Rattler? I think is great. We know this. So I've been big on Spencer Rattler since high school. Are we ready to say that he is better his first true season as a starter than Sam Ehlinger? I
think by the end of the year, we will be saying Spencer Rattler is better than Sam Ehlinger.
I think by the end of the year, we'll be saying that Spencer Rattler has the better future at the next level than Sam Ehlinger. But if we're talking –
We already know that, though.
We already know that. But I think it'll be a more nationally talked about subject in the Big 12 once Spencer Rattler
We'll be talking about – and Sam Ehlinger will be in that conversation as well. But by the end of the year, I honestly believe, because I gave you my hot take last week, Spencer Rattler will be listening to Patrick Mahomes we'll see for a while. Spencer Rattler, it'll come down towards the end of the year to a 3-man race for that Heisman between Fields, Lawrence, and Spencer Rattler.
Ooh, I don't know about this year. I don't know. Ew. See, if we're talking Heisman this year, I think Sam has a better chance to make New York City than Spencer this year. If we're talking this year, not that Spencer won't put up numbers, but here's the thing: in the Lincoln Riley era, I mean, he's had 2 Heisman Trophy winners, 2 number 1 overall draft picks. So, and then Jalen Hurts comes in the next year, puts up great numbers. So now that's starting to become the norm. So for Spencer Rattler to get that nod, or at least right away, he's got to in a lot of ways play better than Kyler and Baker and Jalen Hurts in a lot of ways.
That's where I was getting at. And Kyler Murray did the same thing that Spencer Rattler just did.
That's what I'm saying.
He had to sit out a year, basically, and then.
But Kyler Murray's success is also working against Spencer Rattler, is what I'm saying.
Bar, you got anything?
I personally, I don't see Texas going into Baton Rouge and winning, but
I do, just because it's the second game of the year, and as of right now, I don't know what type of quarterback Miles Burden's going to be like.
That LSU's first home game, do you guys know? Because if that's their first home game, you're not. I don't know. That crowd noise is going to be electrifying.
I don't know. Like we talked about last week, the problem is with LSU is I don't know if they're going to continue to be the same LSU or if they're going to go back to ground and pound and defense.
Oh, if they go ground and pound, I like Texas's chances, But the loss of Joe Brady, really raises that question mark for LSU's offense going forward. So, but as far as y'all got anything else?
Man, I'm just ready to go into the Big Ten.
Yeah, we can go into the Big Ten. Just a couple things on the Big 12. Like I said, Oklahoma State's a sleeper for that Big 12 to possibly, maybe sneak in and steal it. Baylor's another one that could sneak in and steal it. I do like Connor Brewer as a quarterback.
But they're losing Matt Rule, though.
I understand, but
see, that's why I'm iffy on Baylor.
They looked the same pretty much offensively under Matt Rule as they did under Art Briles.
And that's fair. But
I think
anytime you're under a new coaching staff, you're going to have those questions. I'll tell you a dark horse team that I have in the Big 12 is Iowa State.
That's another one with Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy,
yes.
Yeah. I think Brock Purdy – I think the Big 12, it's between – the 3 best quarterbacks in the Big 12, and this is no disrespect to Charlie Brewer, but I think it's Sam, Spencer, and Brock Purdy.
Okay, Spencer Rattler, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Spencer Rattler, yeah.
Okay. Spencer Sanders, by the end of the year, will have something to say about that.
Oh, I'm sure he will. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the Big 12, a lot of good offenses, but those are my 3 best in the Big 12.
The Big 12 is actually a lot better now than people give credit for because, you have your top-heavy teams. You have Texas and Oklahoma. You have teams like Baylor and Oklahoma State that, depending on what their team looks like year in, year out, that could sneak in there and steal one. TCU is another one of those teams that could sneak in and steal one. Iowa State here recently has been able to sneak in. Kansas State, even post-Bill Snyder, has been very solid. And then Kansas is Kansas, but
I think they're taking a step in the right direction, but they're a year away from being 2 years away. Is what I got to say about that.
They're a year away from being 3 years away.
That's fair too. I will say though that I think we have to show more respect to Puka Williams as one of the more underrated running backs in college football. Kid's an absolute stud.
I think if your name's Puka, you need some kind of attention.
I agree. That's probably one of the best names in college football. Let's be honest here. So, but yeah, that's what I got for the Big 12. I got my sleeper as Iowa State, and of course, I have Texas going 13-0. That's my big take from the Big 12.
Well, let's move on to the second best conference in college football, and let's move on to the Big Ten. Oh,
at least you didn't say the best. At least you didn't say the best.
No, I know better. The SEC is the best conference in football.
Well, then again, you are a Kentucky fan, so there is that bias there too. So,
and there's the nice little flag behind, so we know how we're going to go here in the Big Ten.
I don't know about you all, but I have this sudden urge to go plant a flag.
So, you're lucky I like Baker Mayfield.
I like Baker too, even though he's a Sooner.
So I'll just go ahead and start us off with the Big Ten since my one of my favorite teams play in the Big Ten. But as you all know, I do not hold bias in any of my picks. But non-biased, putting it aside, I think we've all kind of, as far as me and Les goes, we've agreed. I have Ohio State running the table again, going undefeated and winning the Big Ten. They're right behind Clemson, if not with Clemson, as far as the most talented team in the country. They're probably, in my opinion, going to have the best receiving core in the country all around. Bringing in Trey Sermon to go with Master Teague is a huge up for the running back core. And then also when your quarterback is Justin Fields, that helps out a lot as well.
And you're in a Ryan Day offense too.
Exactly.
And don't sleep on that. And I know I'm not telling you this, but Maury, he looks kind of confused. Don't sleep on Julian Fleming to make an impact as a freshman.
Julian Fleming will definitely make an impact, but my breakout star this year for Ohio State in terms of he's going to break out because he's only going to be a sophomore, so he can't go to the draft.
Wilson.
Garrett Wilson is the breakout star this year. To put his name as that in that way too early 2022 mock draft as one of the top receivers to take in the draft.
I mean, that catch that's been replayed this week on Facebook, I believe it was on A.J. Terrell. Again, it was against Clemson. I believe A.J. Terrell was guarding him, but that where he just completely mossed him, that was just nasty.
Yeah,
Garrett
Wilson
of the talent that Wilson has.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson is my breakout star for Ohio State this year. We know about Chris Olave. Chris Olave is the deep threat. The defense won't be as good without Jeff Okudah or Chase Young, but I still expect it to be very good. Ohio State, I've got going 13-0 regular season and Big Ten title, and then moving on to the college football playoff as either the 1 or 2 team.
And you and me are both on record saying that Justin Fields is our Heisman prediction this year.
Yes. So Maury, we'll let you have the.
I just have a question actually for you.
Okay.
So first of all, I'm not trying to the word, and I just want to know. So how Ohio State, not last year, but almost every year they have that one game where they kind of wet the bed a little bit.
Yeah, I think that culture's kind of changed in the Ryan Day.
Do you see that happening? I know you said 13-0, but if there was a team this year to either push you to the limit in the regular season or give you a loss, who do you think it would be?
The one game that I am concerned about for the most part is the fact that we have to go to Penn State this year.
That's what
a little bit. That concerns me a little bit. Yeah. Going to Penn State kind of concerns me a little. Oregon would concern me, but that game's going to end up being played on a neutral field. It's not going to get played at Oregon. So neutral field, I'd have no issue playing against Oregon. We could just replay the 2014 national title game, and that will tell you how I feel about Oregon. If it was at Oregon and Oregon didn't have a quarterback competition going right now, that game probably scares me just a little bit because they do have a very good offensive line, a very good defense. But yeah, that Penn State, I'm pulling up their schedule actually right now to make sure that I'm not missing another game off the top of my head. But that going to Penn State definitely worries me a little bit. Michigan State doesn't really bother me as much. The fact that we have to play back-to-back at Michigan State and at Penn State does suck a little. As far as because I know where you're getting at. What is that one team that we shouldn't lose to that is a possibility that could scare us, like the Purdue, like Iowa, from years past? That game will be at Maryland.
Wow. At Maryland. Wow. The team you guys dropped, I believe, 56-0 at one point in the game?
Yeah.
Didn't they drop 70
For
on
that
them?
reason,
Let's say
one.
you got
Yeah.
more than 50. That team like left the game.
For that reason,
Your opponent
and
has
the
left the
fact that
match.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
your point of the match
for
game.
for that reason, the fact that we beat them that badly, that team's gonna come back with a little bit of redemption. Anytime you beat a team that badly, they always want to get you the next year. The fact that it's at Maryland and the fact that how good Maryland has done as far as recruiting and transfers and everything. So I don't think we'll lose to Maryland. Now, don't get me saying that. Thanks to me saying we'll lose to Maryland. I don't think we'll have a problem with Maryland. But if I had to pick which game we shouldn't lose, but we might, it would probably be that Maryland game.
Fair enough. I'll say outside of Ohio State, I think Penn State is the second best team in the Big Ten, at least coming back. I mean, you look at the returners they have. Sean Clifford's
It's Penn
returning.
State, right? It's Penn State right now until I know what Michigan's doing at quarterback.
I mean, that's their question every year. What are they doing at quarterback?
You're
talking about, I know being an Ohio State fan, you're talking about the backfield, Master Teague, Trey Sermon. I'm looking at that backfield from Penn State, and it's pretty nice too. I mean, Journey Brown, Noah Cain. Dude, I love Noah Cain. I watched him play in high school.
I do too.
I mean, he's a beast. I mean, if once Journey Brown leaves, Noah Cain's going to be arguably the best running back in the Big Ten, I think, personally.
We'll see that. Travion Henderson may have something to say about that next year.
He might have something to say, but I still think Noah Cain will be the best running back in the Big Ten once his time comes. And not to mention, am I seeing this right? Is KJ Hamler back too?
No, he's gone.
Who's gone?
He got drafted.
That's right, he did get drafted. I don't know why what I'm looking at still has KJ Hamler there, but he's obviously gone.
The running backs and Sean Clifford isn't what concerns me for that game. What concerns me is on the other side of the football and Micah Parsons. That's what concerns me.
Micah Parsons is arguably one of the best college football.
If my offensive line can contain Micah Parsons, I think Ohio State has no problem going to Penn State and winning because offensively they can match with anybody in the country. But if they cannot contain Micah Parsons, it's going to be a long, long night for that freaking whiteout at Penn State.
And of course, anytime you have a primetime matchup, you always got to look at the coaching matchup as well. I mean, you have Ryan Day at Ohio State, but you have James Franklin at Penn State, who I think is a phenomenal coach. That is who before Texas signed Charlie Strong, James Franklin is who I wanted to come to Austin. So that should just tell you right then and there what I think of James Franklin. I like the job Herman's doing now, but I think if James Franklin would have gotten the job over Charlie Strong, I don't even think Herman's a thought in Austin.
No, Herman might still be my offensive coordinator.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know if you guys covered this already, but Harbaugh, I don't think I said it right, said that it's beat. I correct me if I'm wrong. Beat Ohio State or bust this year.
Yeah.
What was
he says that every year though.
So let's just, for those of you that don't know the game, as it's called in the history, at Ohio State and Michigan, your expectation at bare minimum every year is to beat the other team.
Oh yeah.
You could go 1-11. If that one win is against the other team, it's a successful year in their mind.
Unless you're Charlie Strong at Texas, because he beat Oklahoma in his final year, but went 5-7 and he was out. Of course, the loss to Kansas didn't help either. But
I can't remember exactly who the head coach was, but it was a head coach at Ohio State, and they lost to Michigan, and he ended up going 9-3 that year. They lost to Michigan, and his words after the game were, "I don't see what the big deal about losing to Michigan is all about." 2 weeks later, he was fired from Ohio State.
Yeah, that's a death wish waiting to happen.
I'd hate that letter to mail.
The great Woody Hayes has said, this is how strong the hate goes. The great Woody Hayes has said, I could run out of gas in Michigan, and I will push my car across the border before I get gas in Michigan.
Pretty strong words from the old ball coach.
I despise Michigan. I hate Michigan. I literally was talking about it today. We were talking about the 2013 title game that didn't happen, but it happened. And it was Michigan versus Louisville. And I was like, literally my two most hated teams in the country played against each other. I couldn't even root for anybody.
You just wanted the building to collapse.
Yeah, at that point, I'm glad what happened because now none of them won.
Exactly. It didn't happen.
All right, so listen, check this out.
Oh, check this out. Oh, yeah, let's go.
Check this out. So, I know we're kind of getting on topic. But, yeah, you cannot repeat, for everybody listening, you cannot vacate a win. It's the dumbest punishment you can give a organization, a program, anything. You do not vacate wins. You do not vacate titles. There's just no such thing. Okay. So
there definitely is such thing because it happened.
Never been done before.
Oh, you can say we vacated all you want, but did you?
Yeah.
Did you?
The record books say it's vacated, so yeah.
No. I'm gonna tell you what ESPN does every single.
I don't see a championship banner at Yum Center.
Every year, ESPN goes, oh, calm down.
Is that what they say? Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
it warms my heart to know ESPN at least acknowledges that we won. But lately, they haven't been going, oh, Louisville won, but lately it's just been Louisville won the national championship. You know why they say that? The only people that say, I hear say vacated are Kentucky fans, I guess all of a sudden Duke fans, and basically Michigan fans and fans that don't like Louisville.
Let me stop you right there. How many Duke fans do you know besides me?
No, there's a lot of them in my program. But some of them even know not to be like, oh, you didn't win it. Like, no, we won it that day. That day on April 2nd, 2013, we won.
Anyways, let's get back to the topic.
When you guys do college basketball preseason shit, I need to be here because I would be happy to get on anybody who has a problem with how our season.
Anyways, so back on topic, Maury, you were saying something about Michigan.
Oh, I asked you when's the last time they beat you guys? Because I personally win the last.
Well, they haven't done it in the Urban Meyer or Ryan Day era or the Harbaugh era. So you'd have to go back to Harbaugh was hired in 2000 or Harbaugh. Urban Meyer was hired in 2011. So it's been 9 years since they beat us.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Urban Meyer became the first ever coach in the rivalry to go undefeated against the other school.
That's tough. This is this world's smallest violin I'm playing for Michigan fans right now.
I love it when Maury calls me and tells me that he ran into a Michigan fan down in Florida, and they started talking crap about the U of L and Michigan stuff, and Maury just goes, Maury just calls me just to go, hey, I backed you all up today. This guy was talking crap about the Louisville, Michigan game, so I looked at him and I said, can y'all beat Ohio State in football?
Dude,
I bet that made you happy, Klucas.
And they'll sit there and go, oh, Louisville fans can't beat them. I'm like, we have the blessing of not playing Ohio State, okay?
Okay, so about that real quick before we move on. You're lucky Charlie Strong left when he did because before that, right before he left, he was in talks with Urban Meyer because that was his former head coach. He was in talks about playing Ohio State in the home-and-home series, and I promise you, if they would have played a home-and-home series, it would not have been pretty.
Oh, no, it would not have.
Guess what? You would have saw on WHS 11 News, local Louisville fan runs into the committee and begs them not to schedule Ohio State this year. I would have been on my knees because we, at that time, don't get me wrong, we were red hot. But let's not forget, we're coming out of the bum-ass AAC. Like, No. There's a time and a place. 2016 against Ohio State, maybe I want to see it. But no, not like 2014.
Okay, let's backtrack a little. Does Lamar Jackson really want to see Joey Bosa?
I don't see why not.
Or Nick Bosa?
I don't see why not.
Or Marshawn Lattimore? Or Jeff Okudah? Or Chase Young?
I don't see why not. I don't. Why he's not playing Chase Young?
Okay, buddy.
Anyway,
Chase Young was on the roster when Lamar's last season at U of L.
Oh, okay, I didn't. That's news to me. I did not know that.
Yep, he was a freshman.
Your facts straight, Mari.
Well, he's still. I don't see a problem with Lamar not wanting that smoke at Ohio State.
To seeing the Bosa brothers or Chase Young. Okay.
Shit.
There were a lot of teams.
We're not gonna act like Lamar's not the fastest man.
There were a lot of teams petrified to play the Bosa brothers. Petrified.
Well, I thank the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We didn't have to deal with that.
And don't forget about Money Man Sam Hubbard.
Yeah. Or Michael Bennett.
Well, you guys better hope NCAA Football 20 doesn't come out because – and if they have an all-time team, I want all the smoke from both of you guys.
Oh, if they have an all-time team, I'm running the table with Texas. Please, I'm running the table with Texas. Come here.
They're running an all-time team. I'm running the table with Ohio State. Stop that.
Oh, please.
Stop it. None of y'all want that Archie Griffin. None of y'all want that Archie Griffin or Eddie George smoke.
You don't want that Earl Campbell or that Ricky Williams smoke or that Vince Young smoke. Come on now.
Uh-oh.
I'm just saying. Say it comes out, I'll put $20 on a game right now.
Oh, okay.
Only reason it's not more is because, well, I'm broke.
Yeah.
Until this podcast kicks off, we're broke.
Because we keep getting sidetracked. So let's wrap up the Big Ten.
Because we got about 20 minutes left before our time runs out. So we got to finish out. The Power 5 conferences.
Let's wrap up the Big Ten. So I've got
my Charger.
The
Just go ahead.
It's really hard on me to pick who's going to play Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game because I know Wisconsin, just revamps in the running back position, but I don't know how they're going to play without Jonathan Taylor.
That was my big question. Jonathan Taylor was a big part of that offense for the last 3 seasons. You're talking anytime you lose, even though that you have a program with the history of the running backs that Wisconsin has, anytime you lose a guy that's rushed for 6,000 yards in 3 seasons, it doesn't matter what the tradition is. That is a huge loss. And
so I'm almost
they have not had a really good quarterback since Russell Wilson.
Yeah. I'm almost tempted to say it's probably going to be Ohio State versus Nebraska in the Big Ten championship game.
Ooh, that would be some major leeway for that'd be a major leeway for Scott Frost. I mean, I liked him at UCF, but he's kind of got off to a slow start at Nebraska, which is to be expected.
I think last year Nebraska wasn't ready for the hype that they got, and I think this year they were young last year. They're a little bit more experienced this year. I think Adrian Martinez is ready to make that leap. I think as far as for this year goes, because I don't know how Wisconsin's going to play, I would go Nebraska, Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, and Ohio State pulling out the win.
Yeah, because it kind of goes back to that divisions talk we had at the very beginning of the podcast. Because I think the 2 best teams in the Big 12 are in the Big 10 are in the same division, and that's Ohio State and Penn State. So it's not like
that's usually how it goes every year too.
Right, and so it's not like we're going to see them. So I mean, I don't have any issues with what you're saying. So moving on to the next conference.
Talk about the Pac-12.
Yay.
Yeah, the worst Power 5 conference of them all.
Yay.
So all right. So
I don't even know who I like in the Pac-12.
I'm gonna tell you who I like right off the bat. I do like USC.
I like Oregon's offensive line and their defense. We don't know.
If Oregon can figure out the quarterback situation early and nip it in the butt early, I'll say Oregon. But right now, the saying is obviously the team with the better quarterback wins, and I think outside of Arizona State's quarterback,
I'll say don't sleep on Jaden McDaniels. Don't sleep on Jaden.
Jaden is that's a superstar in the making.
I agree. Herm Edwards has a star on his hands.
Yeah.
Because you play to win the game.
Outside of Jaden, I think Keldon Slovis is the best quarterback in the Pac-12. So I would think right now, so I would say right now, probably out of a safe pick, I would say USC because he does have Brew McCoy to throw to. Oh, my bad, Les. Damn, I made him get up off the set just like that.
First of all, if Brew would have stayed at Texas, I don't think he would have played at receiver, and that's why I think he actually said he was homesick and wanted to go back to USC. But
if
I think he
would have stayed at Texas, I would be more inclined to tell you you're going 13-0 this year.
Well, yeah, I would definitely be a lot. That would definitely be a big help. But I think what ended up, he said he was homesick, but I think what it came down to is that Tom Herman was going to put him at linebacker instead of receiver. So I think that, and then he ultimately wanted to play receiver, and that's why he ended up going back to USC, and that's why I think he was homesick. But hey, I wish the kid the best of luck. I'm not a hater.
I'm not 100% sure exactly how. I'm gonna look it up how the Pac-12 divisions are split up. So I would say, and like I said, unless Oregon can figure out that quarterback situation early, whether they're going to go with Anthony Brown, the transfer from college, or if they're going to go Tyler Shep. If they can nip that in the butt early and they can actually pick the right one right off the bat, then I think they'll win the Pac-12. But I would say right now,
USC is definitely the safest pick for sure. I mean,
so all right, so the Pac-12. Okay, so then there you go. Because USC and Oregon are in separate divisions. I would say USC and Oregon in the Pac-12 title game.
I would agree with that. Pac-12 title game setting, I'm going to go with Oregon because I think by then they'll have their quarterback situation figured out. And I think they have the better offensive line. They have the better defense. So, but I think as far as regular season, USC will, like you said, will be the number one team in the regular season. But I think Oregon wins in the Pac-12 title game.
I probably agree with that.
Shit. I think that's the first time we've agreed. I think that's the first time.
Unless Arizona State can shock the world for USC. And the only other team that I think that could compete with Oregon in that division would be Washington.
Washington, they're still having a lot of question marks about their quarterback situation. You know, they lose Eason. I mean, yeah, they're a great offensive team, very solid on the defensive side of the ball as well. But there's still those same question marks that Oregon has without the talent around them.
And without the head coach that they usually have.
That's right. Peterson's gone, isn't he?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a big loss. I like Chris Peterson. So
unless y'all got anything else about the Pac-12, it's kind of no offense if anybody's Pac-12 fans watching this, it's kind of the boring conference to talk about.
It really is. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some exciting playmakers from time to time in there, but it's probably it's definitely the weakest.
So Mari, you got anything to add before we switch
to the best conference in football?
I call them the 10:30 conference. I don't even call them the Pac-12 conference.
Yeah, because their games don't come on till 10:30.
That's usually past my bedtime. I'm not even gonna lie.
Oh, that is.
So, all right, let's transition from the worst conference to the best conference. So let's talk about the SEC.
Roll Tide.
Yeah.
Roll Tide.
Yeah.
Bryce Young starting eventually.
So as far as that goes, I think Alabama. Let's just go ahead and get it out. I think Alabama runs the table that goes undefeated. Their defense is going to be more kind of like what you said about Clemson in terms of their defense is going to be more the way they had played. I think Alabama's defense is going to be played more the way they had, led by Dylan Moses.
So you think – so hold on. Let's just make sure we're on the same page here. When I say that Clemson is going to run closer to defense to what Brent Venables is comfortable with, I mean that Clemson's going to run a 4-3. Alabama, from what I've seen in recent years, they're more comfortable running a 3-4. So is that
that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying what they've been more accustomed to doing.
Yeah, they're going to be more. They're going to have the 3 big linemen and then have mostly talented linebackers. Okay, yeah, Dylan Moses.
Talented linebackers, and then you have Patrick Surtain in the backfield at corner, who's going to be probably one of the best, if not the best corner in the country.
Ooh, I don't know. You got a sophomore at LSU that might have something to say about that.
I said one of the, if not the. Look, and you got a young kid.
The best corner in college. Derek Stingley is the best corner in college football. Let's not.
You got a young corner sitting at Ohio State that's waiting to take that throne too. Don't sleep on Sean Wade.
I'm not. I just think Derek Stingley is just that good. I mean, how he played as a true freshman, even in the college football playoff. I mean, he locked up those Clemson receivers. I mean, when he was put on CeeDee Lamb, he locked up CeeDee Lamb. That's not easy to do.
I'm not arguing you, Les. I'm
Well, you know
saying.
What? I have Matt Spencer's name under my logos. So
we have to argue. All right.
Yeah,
cool.
Exactly.
So
that is my Spencer tribute of the day. I'm arguing when you are not arguing.
So Alabama, I've got coming out of the SEC West. I think Texas A&M will put up a dogfight this year. They won't obviously surpass Alabama, but they'll be right there behind Alabama, and I think LSU will be right behind them. LSU and Auburn will be right behind them. As far as the SEC East goes, I'm really, really torn between Florida and Georgia because
I'll help you. It's Georgia.
Because I do like Georgia because they finally have that different quarterback that they're not going to have a system quarterback like they've had. I really like Jamie Newman.
Here's my question.
I really like
what system?
And did I just hear shade of Jake?
I can't hear you.
Not okay. Let me backtrack. Game managing quarterback. There we go.
Okay.
They're not going to have a game manager. They're going to have an actual somewhat playmaking quarterback.
Are these shots at Jake Fromm?
These are shots at the last.
They're shots at Jake Fromm. They're shots. Yeah, these are shots at Jake Fromm. These are shots at what was his name? Hunter. He was right after Aaron Murray. His first name was Hunter. Oh, I can't remember his name. Yeah, these are shots at all the Georgia quarterbacks up until Matthew Stafford.
So we're gonna act like Fromm didn't, true freshman year didn't lead them to the national championship. Like, what?
He didn't lead them. I mean, he played a pivotal role.
Did he lead them? Did he lead them, or did Nick Chubb and the defense lead them?
Well,
Nick Chubb and Sony Michel.
What is a team without its quarterback? If they had a bum-ass quarterback, Georgia wouldn't have
college. Okay, the only level of football where you can win and not have the greatest quarterback is college. I think Alabama proved that when they. I think Alabama proved that when they won a national title with Jake fucking Coker as their quarterback.
Yeah, because they had the Heisman Trophy winner in the backfield, which still should not have won over Christian McCaffrey, but still, that is not.
Still should not won over Ezekiel Elliott, but.
Louisville had nobody in that conversation.
Because nobody cares, Mari. But moving on.
So they pretty much proved that when they won a national title with Jake Coker.
I'm going to disagree and say high school, if you have enough talent around you, you can win a lot of games in high school too.
Touche. Anyways, but yeah, let's not act like Jake Fromm was out there putting on, two alike performances to lead Georgia.
Yeah, but the he's just so disrespected, and I just don't understand why.
He's not disrespected. He is what he is. He's a game managing type quarterback.
Yeah, he was a good game manager. He's not.
There's a reason when he came out of college for the NFL draft. My draft comparison for him was Kirk Cousins because that's what he is. He's a game manager. He's not anybody that's going to go out there and lead, be a franchise changing guy. It's going to, we had a average team this year. You take Jake Fromm, you put him on an average NFL team, guess what? They're still going to be average because he's not a game changer.
I'll say, if you had – with a quarterback like Jake Fromm, like Klucas said, if you have a good team around you, he can keep the ball in your hands. He's not going to turn the ball over.
He can win you football games, but he's not going to make a difference. He's not going to go out there, and put on a legendary performance for you. So, yeah.
Before we get too off topic before we get too sidetracked on that, one thing I want to say is, obviously, y'all saw me doing the Gator Chomp. I really like this Florida team. I'm really big on Kyle Trask. I think they have the more explosive offense, and they both have two very good defenses. I think Georgia has the edge in the backfield. Zamir White, I think, is going to have his breakout season this year. Oh, I thought you were about to do something here.
No, stretching.
But anyways, I think Florida, with both having two good defenses, I think Florida's got the more explosive offense. That's why I like them. Jamie Newman, you're right. As far as play style, he's not the prototypical game manager that Georgia is used to in recent years. However, I'm really interested to see how Jamie Newman makes the transition from the ACC to the SEC. You're playing a lot better defenses on a week-to-week basis than you were playing at Wake Forest. And yes, he's a dual threat, playmaking style quarterback, and he's got a lot more talent around him now. But he's also got to go up against a lot more talent on a week-to-week basis. So I'm interested to see how that goes.
I couldn't have said it any better than the way you said it.
Thank you, Mark.
So, this is, again, where we go to talk about the conference realignment. It's going to be Georgia or Florida. I'm, really torn because I really do like the Florida team. I just like you, I like Kyle Trask. I like their defense. But on the flip side for Georgia, I like Georgia's defense. I like Georgia's running backs. I like their quarterback. And at the end of the day, if I'm going back and to what I've been staying true to with my picks, I'm going to pick the better head coach and the better quarterback. So I think at the end of the day,
are we really ready to say right now that Kirby Smart is that much better of an option?
It's better than Dan Mullen? Yes.
Ooh. See, yes. Kirby Smart, you take away the national championship appearance. And obviously I don't mean to say that lightly. It sounds like I am, but I'm not. But has he really shown me he's a good coach. Has he shown me a lot? They have a good recruiting class coming in. They have the number one recruiting class coming in, to be quite frank. My thing is, Georgia, they're too boring of an offense. It's too basic I formation.
And that's what's going to change. That's what's going to change this year. It all changes with your quarterback. If your quarterback is consistent, game manager, that's how you're going to play. But Kirby is going to adapt to his quarterback. So if you've got that dual threat, you've got that game-changing quarterback, you can open up the playbook a little bit more now.
You can, but that's still going to come back to Jamie Newman's transition from playing in the ACC to the SEC.
So I think with that being said, I'm going to go Georgia and Alabama in the SEC title game as it has been for the last, it seems like 10 years almost.
See, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go Bama. I'm going to go Bama and Florida.
I'm going to go Bama and Georgia, and I'm sorry. Shout out to my boss, Willie Lucas, who will hopefully end up watching this after I send him the link. I got Bama winning. A little something about Bama. I think Mac Jones starts about the first 3 to 4 weeks, and then Bryce Young takes over.
Bryce Young special. Yeah.
So with that being said, Les, as we try to wrap up with everything, who's your 4 college football teams?
All right.
Time out. I also have Bama in Georgia. Please continue, Les.
Okay. Who's your 4 college football players?
You interrupted me just to say that. Okay. You know what? I take back the nice thing I said to you, Maury, and yeah. I'm just kidding. No, it's all up. But anyway.
I want your 4. All right, so here we go. I want your 4 college football playoff teams in order, ranked.
In order. Okay, I was just about to ask.
And then I want your national championship game and who wins it, and then who wins your Heisman, even though I already know.
Okay. Number 1, starting from the top, number 1, I'm going to have Clemson. Number 2, I'm going to have Ohio State. Number 3, I'm going to have Alabama. And number 4, I'm going to have Texas. I have Clemson mollywopping Texas. And keep in mind, Texas fan, my son just takes us to school, along with the rest of that team. I'm thinking it's probably going to be like a 42 to like 13 game. I think Clemson's just going to mollywop us. And I think after this year is when we start seeing Texas really start competing for national titles. I think this is the last.
It'll depend on what you do after Sam Ehlinger as far as a quarterback.
We have some pretty good options, whether it's Hudson Card, whether Roshan wants to make the transition back to quarterback. Don't think he will. Whether it's Jacaden Jackson, or we got another dual threat coming in the class of 2021 that could say something about it. So quarterback, not too worried about it. We just have to be complete on all sides of the ball, and I think we are. All right. Ohio State and Alabama.
Talk about a smash mouth football game.
It's gonna be a great game.
It's gonna be a trash.
But like in 2014, I think the Buckeyes come out on top.
Run, Zeke, run.
Yeah, sorry, Zeke's not there, but anyway, I think it is.
Justin Fields.
I think it is the quarterback matchup that we have been wanting to see for a national title since the 2017 Elite 11 camp, and that is a Justin Fields versus Trevor Lawrence national title. I think Clemson takes it. I think Trevor Lawrence finishes his college career with only one loss. I think both quarterbacks still go in the top 5 of the NFL draft. I think both go on to have future Hall of Fame-like careers. But I just think Trevor Lawrence is probably the best, most pro-ready, the best pro prospect at quarterback I've seen in my lifetime. And that's saying a lot because I really like Justin Fields. Because Justin Fields is my Heisman winner, for Christ's sake, going into your last question. So, but I think Clemson – I think both teams are very talented. Obviously, they're the 2 most talented teams in the country. I don't think it comes down to one team's more talented than the other. I think it comes down to Justin and Trevor at the end of the day, and Dabo versus Day. And I like that Trevor and Dabo matchup over that Fields and Day quarterback. That's no shade. I just think it's better. But that's just me.
Maury?
Oh, man, please don't hate me for this. So, number 1, I have Clemson. 2, I have Ohio State. 3, I also have Alabama. But 4, this is just as of right now.
Well, okay. They're all as of right now.
I swear if he says some off-the-wall shit, I'm hanging up.
He's going to say Blue Mountain State.
No.
Oh, well, then that's not off the wall.
That's true.
That's the greatest college football dynasty ever.
Right.
I'm putting a lot of faith into Oregon this year. A lot of faith in Oregon this year.
Damn, look up those guys pretty quick.
Did you see it?
Huh?
You see it?
She's back.
Oh.
I saw you ordering it earlier.
Listen, I know how you guys feel. I do know. But this
Oregon?
Just watch. That's all I'm going to say to you is just watch.
Hold on. Hold on. Klucas, hold on. Before you say anything, how you're going to have a team play in the national title game? Do you even know who their quarterback's going to be?
I don't have them playing in the national title game.
No. I mean, sorry. You have them in the college football playoff. Do you even know who their quarterback's going to be?
Listen, that's a great fucking question. But what I'm saying is I feel like that, if anything, I don't think they'll have this problem when the regular season starts. I don't think they'll have that problem. I honestly think they'll nip it in the bud. If not after the first game, which is a tune-up game, they'll obviously they're going to fucking have it before they play Ohio State. Don't get me wrong. I don't have them beating Ohio State. I do have them having a great enough in-conference and regular season game enough to get into the playoff. I'm not saying they're going to, just run through the season, but I think they'll do enough to sneak in.
Well, first of all, that one loss is going to hurt enough, especially when you play in the Pac-12. But
And that's
second of
also
all,
not to mention if they lose another Pac-12 game on the way, like
Yeah,
to
they're
a
done.
Washington, to a USC.
they're done. They're out. But
So
that's my thing.
let me just
If you
let
think
me
the quarterback situation is going to be handled, I want to know who you think their quarterback's going to be.
I have not made that prediction yet, but I don't think they're going to have this problem. I just think
How do you have a team in the college football playoff and you don't know who their quarterback's going to be? The most important position on the field.
Personally,
I should have just hung up. That's what I should have done.
You guys can get upset.
So
You can't hang up because you got to give your predictions. You can't hang up.
So let me just ask you this: you've got Oregon, who you don't know who the quarterback is going to be, in a college football playoff over. I'll throw some love to Les over a Sam Ehlinger Texas team, over a Spencer Rattler Oklahoma team.
Texas going.
Over. Hold on. Over a Spencer Rattler Oklahoma team, over a Jamie Newman Georgia team, over a Kyle Trask Florida team. Even if, let's just say, Penn State's only loss is to Ohio State, over a Penn State over a Sean Clifford Micah Parsons Penn State team.
Okay, guess what? You just said if Oregon loses a conference game, they're in trouble, right? Penn State, if they lose to Ohio State, and let's say Ohio State for some reason is at that fourth spot going in the conference championship week, you really think the committee is going to put Penn State over Ohio State?
Why would they put them over Ohio State? That has nothing to do with Ohio State. It has to do with Oregon.
Ohio State is at that fourth spot, right? And Penn State is
if Ohio State starts the year number 2 in the country and they go undefeated, why would they drop the 4?
I'm saying from if you say how they did Clemson last year with you guys blowing everybody out.
The reason they did that to Clemson was because of their strength of schedule. They played nobody.
What?
Are you confused?
I was talking.
Weird moment of silence.
That's just my pick. Let's move on to Klucas.
All right.
All right.
Your
Well,
pick.
I'm gonna leave you at your pick.
Have a lot of questions.
All right. I need to know who your national championship is and who wins.
Oh, I agree with Les. I have Clemson and Ohio State.
For this year? For this season coming up?
Who wins?
Shit. Clemson. I have to go with Clemson because I feel like Trevor's the best quarterback in this entire nation.
All right, and who wins the Heisman?
I have to go. I'll go with the safe bet with Justin Fields. I feel like Trevor doesn't have a shot because of his strength of schedule.
I think it's more the system and the weapons around him more than I think it's more playing style. But as far as
and as far as the Heisman goes, Justin Fields, no offense, Trevor is mobile. I've found that out firsthand against Ohio State last year.
I was about to say, I thought you were about to say Trevor's not mobile. That's 67-yard touchdown runs.
But Justin Fields is more mobile, so he's going to have more of and in that offense, he's going to have more of an opportunity to rack up more touchdowns in terms of passing and rushing.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think the Ryan Day offense, that system is going to be the difference between those two as far as the Heisman race. So as far as my college football playoff goes, number 1, if Clemson starts the year number 1 and goes undefeated, they're going to finish number 1. So Clemson at 1. Ohio State number 2, Alabama 3. So we agree with those 3. Mm-hmm.
We all agree with those 3. My 4th, I'm torn between 2 people, and I'm gonna pick one only because they're gonna end up having a conference championship, which is gonna reign supreme. My 4th is gonna be Oklahoma, but my other team I was torn with is Georgia, only because of the simple fact that if Georgia does run the table and beat Florida in the regular season, but their loss is only to Alabama, it's going to revert back to the fact that where Georgia's going to have the better strength of schedule over Oklahoma and everything else over Oklahoma, but they're not going to have that conference championship over Oklahoma, which is where we go into that segue of we need more playoff teams for the college football playoff.
We do. I mean, I think it needs to be
Kirby's
a minimum of 8 teams.
Kirby's going to say the same thing he said a couple years ago. If they lose to Bama, you go over there and tell Alabama who they don't want to play between us or Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So So Oklahoma's my fourth team. I have Clemson mud stomping Oklahoma because Oklahoma has no defense. And then the barn burner between Alabama and Ohio State. I think it'll be a little bit closer, but I think the inexperience of Bryce Young will catch up to him in that game, for that game alone, as talented as Bryce Young is, against a more experienced defense, a more experienced team. Ohio State will reign supreme. And no bias on this pick.
He's still going to
It's
say Ohio State. Hold on, I can defend why he says it, because Clemson got the dub last year. That's going to be in the back of Ohio State's head. I get it. No, I do.
Justin Fields feels knows in his mind that he believes he's every bit as talented, if not more talented, than Trevor Lawrence. He beat him in the Elite 11. I feel like, yes, Clemson wins at the running back position, obviously. Travis Etienne is the much better running back than either of the two running backs or even the two combined at Ohio State. The receiving core, I give an edge to Ohio State.
I would too.
As far as the individual receiver, I give the edge to Clemson because Justin Ross is the better individual receiver.
Yeah, he's a
but
stud.
if you were to put all of them in like a top 10, there would be more Ohio State players in that top 10 than there would be Clemson.
That's fair.
So I give the receiving core edge to Ohio State. I give the offensive line edge to Ohio State. Ohio State returns a lot of their offensive linemen. I know Clemson does too.
Clemson does too, yeah.
But I like you can maybe call it more. I don't give it a way over edge. It could be even / slight edge to Ohio State. Defensive line, I'm kind of torn between, because yes, you have Xavier Thomas, but on the other side, I've got Jonathan Cooper. So to play it safe, I'm going to say the defensive line is about even. Linebacking core, I give the edge to Ohio State. Baron Browning, Pete Werner, and them, they're the real deals at linebackers.
See, I'm going to give the edge on the defensive line to Clemson. The reason I say that is who all they do have returning.
Yeah, because Brian
Brzee, Miles Murphy. Miles Murphy. I mean, those two coming in, I think, can make an impact right away. And they're no slouches, let me tell you.
No, they're not. And slight edge to Clemson / even, whatever. Linebacking core, I give the edge to Ohio State. Secondary, I give the edge to Ohio State as well.
I would too. I still think both teams are very close.
These are arguably from offense to defense. Ohio State and Clemson are the two most talented teams in the country.
And like I said at the very beginning of the podcast, I think this is this Ohio State Clemson matchup is the equivalent to USC and Texas as far as who's the real number one that we're going to be talking about all year long. That we will find. This game isn't gonna be a blowout by any means necessary.
No. At the bare minimum, this game's gonna be a shootout.
Yeah.
Between who can put the most points on the board.
My final score is Clemson 42, Ohio State 35. Very close game.
Okay, I would flip that, but add a little bit of points to Clemson. I would give final score 42-38 Ohio State.
Okay. So
and then my Heisman pick is Justin Fields.
So just a quick rundown. We mostly agree on the top three as far as Clemson, Ohio State.
We agree on Clemson, Bama, and Ohio State. Yeah, it's just the fourth that all of us have a different pick.
We all agree on the Heisman Trophy winner. Look, guys, that's all the time we have for today. Very good talk. I'd like to thank Mari again for joining us this week's podcast.
As a late substitution.
Hey, late. It doesn't matter. He delivered, so it's all good.
Six man of the year so far. The leader is Mari.
Ooh, I don't know. He's got some competition with DJ. I don't know.
He's got competition coming up, but as far as right now, 6-man leaderboard is Mari.
Oh, I don't know. DJ had a good run. I'm gonna shout out DJ on that one. But as always, to all the fans that go in and listen, tell us what you think of the podcast. Give us your takes. Tell us what you think you want us to touch on even more, what we can improve on. But until next time, I'm Les Abbott.
Jacob Klucas.
Mama.
There we go. And we're out. Thank you.